Hello and welcome back to this week's episode of Heartland Huddle. I'm your host, Jamison Mangold. It's been 2 weeks since you last saw us, and after a break, it's time to kick things back off. November is approaching quickly, and that means so are playoffs, and teams are gearing up for their chance at state this year, and we're here to cover it. We're back this week with some Sunflower League, EKL, and everything right in between. So let's get into it right now on Heartland Huddle. Last week, after their upset against Gardner-Edgerton, Olathe West kept that momentum up to beat the tough Mill Valley Jaguars. As our game of the week this week, we'll see if they kept that up as Landon talks about their game against Shawnee Mission East. And then Olathe North came to Lawrence Free State stomping grounds for a matchup. Logan will be covering that. First, we're over to Landon.
Thanks, Jamison. We had a great matchup on Friday night as we saw the Shawnee Mission East Lancers take on the Olathe West Owls. Last week, during our break, Olathe West pulled off a monumental upset as they beat the Mill Valley Jaguars on the same week that NBC's Today Show was in town covering the Jaguars. Both teams come into this game 5-1, looking to keep their strong seasons going in a heavyweight battle. After a tough game from both sides, we saw the Owls take this one 37-28. The Owls came out of the gates red hot as they scored two early touchdowns, the first one being a pass caught by junior wide receiver Cabe Robinson that was stripped from him just before the goal line, but then recovered by senior running back Josh Fowen. We also saw another pass from senior quarterback Brody Hale that led to a phenomenal catch by senior wide receiver Sam Krasowski. That made the game 14-0 early on. The Lancers looked to get back into this game as they put together a strong drive, but unfortunately for Shawnee Mission East, they would lose their starting quarterback on this drive after he went down on a long run, which meant that backup senior quarterback Vince Kopp would have to take the reins of this offense. He finished this drive off with a rushing touchdown to give the Lancers some much-needed momentum. The Owls didn't look back, though, as they went right back down the field as Josh Fowen punched in his second touchdown of the night to push the Owls' lead to 21-7. The Lancers did not give up, though, as they would match that score with one of their own as Vince Kopp ran in his second score of the night. After a touchdown right before the end of the half, Olathe West went into the break with a commanding 28-14 lead. The Lancers looked determined coming out of the break as they put together a strong drive with Vince Kopp running in his third touchdown of the night. The Owls were able to get a field goal, but that was after a long drive that looked like it would result in an easy touchdown, but credit to the Lancers defense as they allowed only 3 points to be put up on the board. The Lancers offense used that stop to their favor as Vince Kopp ran in his fourth score of the night to make it 31-28. Talk about stepping up as that score made a game that seemed to be an easy put-away win for the Owls, but instead was a shootout with some great offense. The Lancers defense would get a huge stop, but unfortunately it came down to fourth down for their offense, and Kopp could only do so much as he tried to make a difficult throw that was picked off, which stunned the Lancers faithful. The Owls would put this one away after a rushing touchdown from Brody Hale to seal this thing 37-28. The Owls moved to 6-1 on the season as they look like a serious contender for the 6A title, with the Lancers fall to 5-2 but are still in the race. Free State was looking to break into the top 25 this week with the battle against Olathe North. Let's send it over to Logan to hear more about it.
Thanks, Landon. Friday Night Lights turned into a 2-day showdown for Lawrence Free State and Olathe North, and it was a matchup packed with meaning. Free State hosted their breast cancer awareness and senior night. The Firebirds hosted under stormy skies, and the weather quickly became part of the story. In the first quarter, Free State held Olathe North to a 14-0 lead after 2 early touchdowns from Madden Brittingham. But just before the quarter ended, Olathe North's Akobe Bruce got the Eagles on the board to make it 14-7. Rain started to pour in the second quarter, growing heavier as the game went on. With just 11 seconds left before half, Jason Rush scored to give Olathe North the lead. Then, lightning forced the weather delay and eventually postponed the rest of the game until Saturday morning. When play resumed, Olathe North led 21-14 and came out strong. With 3 minutes and 54 seconds left in the third, senior Blaze Adger took it to the house for a touchdown, and less than a minute later, Jackson Parker added a pick six. Then, in the fourth, Adger came in blazing and found the end zone once again after a fumble recovery, sealing the 34-14 win for Olathe North. After the game, I caught up with Adger, who talked about the team's mindset heading into Saturday morning.
The mindset coming in here was anything can be done. We had a couple hiccups during the season. Sometimes we shot ourselves in the leg, but we know as a team what we can do when we're at our full potential and when we're playing our best, and that's exactly what we came out here and did today. I knew going home I was gonna have to stay, keep the same energy I had, come out punching, swinging, and just never let off the gas. And as a team, we just kept our foot on their throats the whole game.
And they did just that, handing Free State their first district loss of the season. I cannot wait to see what next week has in store. I'm Logan Manorath reporting for Heartland Huddle.
Now, EKL has some strong competitors as well. We're heading there next to look into more games this week, starting with Capon versus St. James Academy. Jacob will be covering that. And then we are looking at our Thursday night lights game where Blue Valley took on Blue Valley West. Xander will cover that shortly. First, we're headed to you, Jacob.
Thanks, Jameson. And what I witnessed Friday night was nothing less than just pure entertainment. 5A contender St. James Academy hosted top contender in 4A undefeated Cape and Mount Carmel. It was a back-and-forth game between these two teams who traded scores all game long, but in the end, Cape had a chance to tie it with a field goal at the end, but Brady Boyston blocked the kick, giving the Thunder a 38-35 victory. Here was Red head coach Radke's immediate reaction.
Oh, it's just a great football game. It's a really good football team. They're undefeated. We got a great chance to win 4A. They'll be 5A next year. It's a really good football team. Coached really well, very physical. We knew that. We just made a couple more plays in the end than they did. That's it.
Shout out to the outstanding junior duo between quarterback John Hornbeck and wide receiver Luke Neeson. John threw for 283 yards and 4 touchdowns, while on 4 receptions, Luke had 109 yards and 2 touchdowns. St. James will close out the season next week at home against Blue Valley West, but we will have more action coming up in the EKL. So let's send it over to Xander for a rivalry out in Overland Park.
What a game, Jacob. Well, Thursday night lights between the Blue Valley West Jaguars and the Blue Valley Tigers also did not disappoint. Though early on, Blue Valley looked to be running away with the game, Blue Valley West would fight back to make it close, as the game ended in a Tigers victory by a score of 28-21. Blue Valley started hot when on their first offensive play, running back Hayden Ward went untouched for an 88-yard touchdown run. After quickly getting a defensive stop, the ensuing Blue Valley drive saw wide receiver Jacob Lockett catch 3 passes, and the drive was capped off by a 1-yard tush-push rush touchdown from senior Taff Stuve. Stuve would score another rushing touchdown, this time from 7 yards out in the second quarter, following an interception from Tyree Kelly. This extended the lead to 21-0 for the Tigers, and that would be the score going into halftime. The Tigers' final touchdown of the night would come from Hayden Ward early in the third quarter. The senior back scored his second touchdown on this 14-yard rush, capping off a monster night for him, in which he rushed for 215 yards. Even though Ward was having his way with the Jaguars' defense, Blue Valley West would not go away easily. After a scoreless first half, tight end and Kansas State commit Lawson McGraw somehow managed to catch this pass after it was tipped multiple times, and even more impressively, he managed to turn around and outrace the rest of the defense for a 36-yard touchdown reception to make the score 21-7. After they fell behind 28-7, wide receiver Trent Schneider would find the end zone twice in the fourth quarter. First, he would score on this 9-yard reception to cut the lead to 28-14, and then again on the Jaguars' last drive on a 14-yard reception to reach the final score of 28-21. McGraw finished off his senior night with 8 catches for 116 yards, while Schneider finished with 7 catches for 78 yards. After Blue Valley was able to recover the onside kick and run the game clock out to seal the win, I caught up with head coach Alan Terrell. So they came back a little bit in the second half. They made it close, but Hayden Ward finished it off for you guys. How happy were you with his performance?
Hayden played great. He's played great all year. He's a senior leader for us that has waited his turn, and he's really starting to produce later in the season. We're hoping it continues into the playoffs.
Well, Coach, you guys are back to over 500. Taking away from this game, what are you looking at going forward? How do you feel about this team's ceiling?
I feel like we are just scratching the surface on what we can be. We're starting to get healthy. We had a kid out tonight, one of our better offensive linemen out tonight. We're hoping to get him back, and the sky's the limit for this group.
The Blue Valley Tigers now sit at 4-3, and they'll return home for their senior night on Friday against the Bishop Miege Stags. Blue Valley West, after falling to 2-5 on the year, will finish their regular season against St. James Academy at a neutral site. After a short break, Heartland Huddle will be back with more high school football.
I know I'm ready to see which plays made it into the top 5 this week. Before that, we're heading to a scoreboard update with Jacob of all the games we did and didn't cover. And then Jude's top 5 plays from this week will feature some moments from games you wouldn't want to miss. First, let's get our scoreboard update.
Welcome back to this week's scoreboard segment. We are almost done with the regular season, but here are some of the main storylines we did not to cover in today's show. First up, we have the battle of no wins. Lawrence went to Shawnee Mission North with both teams coming in at 0-6. One of these teams had to win, but it was North that came out on top, getting the first one of the season. Aquinas recovered from their only loss of the season by crushing Blue Valley Northwest, as well as Mill Valley, who recovered from their loss last week by crushing Olathe Northwest. And check out this crazy stat. Junior running back Max Piva rushed for 404 yards and 3 touchdowns on 23 carries. Mill Valley will close out their season against Shawnee Mission North, and I fear that will be another blowout. And looking at some 4A action, Eudora took on Tonganoxie to improve to 6-1 and will host Paola next week to finish out their season. But we also haven't talked about this team on the show yet, but we have to talk about Mays High School, who I believe is the favorite to win 6A state. And they are currently sitting at 7-0 and have blew out every opponent this year, including Andover and Derby. But that's all we have today for this week's scoreboard segment. Tossing it to Jude now for an exciting top 5 plays.
Welcome back to Heartland Huddle Top 5 Plays. I'm Jude Gussie, and let's jump right into it. At number 5, Olathe West Ravens. Hale connects with Cabe Robinson, who stretches out for the goal line and has the ball knocked away, but Josh Foland is at the right place at the right time and dives on the loose ball for the touchdown. Number 4, Olathe North's Jason Rush takes the short pass and doesn't get touched on his 57-yard dash to the end zone. Olathe North took the W 35-14. At number 3, Brady Boydston of St. James Academy puts his athleticism on full display as he blocks the field goal that would have sent the game to overtime. St. James Academy takes the win 38-35. Number 2, check out this play from Blue Valley West receiver and K-State commit Lawson McGraw. Pass is tipped and bobbled, but he finally controls it, and with his momentum going opposite of the end zone, McGraw then completely does the impossible, turns around, and outruns multiple defenders for the touchdown. Incredible. And at our number 1 spot, this play is absolutely ridiculous. Olathe North's Jackson Parker fully extends for the interception and is unable to come down with it, but if you look closely, the ball falls on top of his back and balances in place for a moment. Multiple teammates notice this and retrieve the ball before it is able to touch the ground for the improbable takeaway, rightfully earning this week's top spot. If you believe your play deserves to be featured in next week's top 5, make sure to DM us your submissions at HeartlandHuddle_KU on Instagram.
Well, that's all we have for this week's games. Keep checking in each week to see features on your favorite teams and players. After this week, our ranking in 6A West are Mays in the number 1 spot, followed by Wichita Northwest and Washburn Rural. And in the East, Olathe West is maintaining its newfound number 1 spot, followed by Lawrence Free State in second, and then Gardner Edgerton. Check back next week to see if any of this is switched up. We have live game time updates on our social media for all the games. Check out Media Crossroads on YouTube to keep up with us, as well as Run It Back and Playmakers, with all things KU and pro sports. We're live 6 p.m. on Mondays with all things high school football. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on Heartland Huddle.